Now this thing is exceptionally heavy, so if you have some help, that's going to benefit you. This guy right here is where we need to start. So let's put this thing together. That's a list of the tools that they have in the manual that you're going to need to put this Sawmill together. I do have it laid just as I unpacked it right out of the crate, and setting this cardboard down there actually keeps us from scratching this thing up. We want to keep our paint clean. So the next thing we're going to do is get our cables out of the way here. Just kind of untie them, get them down out of our way. You want to be really careful here. All of these wires and sensors and things that's on the unit, we don't want to do any damage. Just kind of get everything folded out of your way. We're trying to get to these squares right here. And the first component of our carriage, we're going to get these two holes that is separated the farthest, pointing down the hill. We're going to slide that right through the base. Okay, and they're going to match up down here. And this plastic cap is to help us get it through our Teflon bushings here, and then when we slide it through, we will remove this cap. It does say in the manual, do not install from the bottom. We have to come in through the top. Okay? I'm going to slide this guy in just like that. There we go. The idea about the plastic cap there is you don't want to be cutting your Teflon as you're sliding these things down in there. And that is a tight fit. And this side we want to make sure, again, long separated holes to the bottom, and make sure that they're facing to the outside of the rail for you. So a little bit of patience here, and make sure that you don't damage your Teflon. And I don't think we need these anymore. We're going to push these down in a little bit farther, I think. I see a bolt hole coming into view here. So I'm going to say that we're going to have to at least be slid down enough to get to our 2 bolt holes in order to put the rest of the carriage together. And they do have everything kind of loosely fitted together here for us. Now these little cables you see here, these are just rolling along our wheel, and that is to keep sawdust from stacking up in our carriage wheels here. That's a good idea. So those just fit loosely in there. And all of our hardware for mounting this guy up is going to be in this small box. We are going to find our bolts and washers that go into this. Try not to rip any bags, that way everything stays where it's supposed to until we figure out what we need. And I found the 80mm bolt that we need to go through here. And if you need a conversion, these little yardsticks from Stanley really helps. Just measure the length of your bolt. We're out to 80mm there. Need 2 bolts per side. And we're going to need 4 nuts and 8 flat washers. Now we're just going to snug these up a little bit. We're not going to get them overly tight until we get everything in place that we need. We're going to go the long point down. This is the 2 holes that we're going to match in the frame here. And again, 80mm bolt washer on this side. And we'll be back here. Okay. And we do want the bolt going through this direction to the outside of the frame. And I am going to lift that cable up out of there. We'll get that later on the top. These are heavy. Alright, I'm going to tighten those up just a little bit, and now we're going to push these all the way back up against our stop here. And the reason you want to push this up tight is when you lift this up, you don't want the saw to be able to fall down. So I'm going to shove these back up in there. It's probably going to be close enough. So we've got this mounted loosely, and at this point we're ready for a critical step in the assembly process. We're going to stand this thing up, and if you have somebody that can help you, you're going to be better off there, because again, this 14 horsepower motor as well as all of the steel is heavy. I'm down here by myself, so I'm going to try to get this thing to stand up for me, and I am hoping that it doesn't scoot across the floor. So let's see how it goes. That's not bad. I'm going to try to get a foot down here so this thing doesn't slide. Well, it looks better standing up like this than it did in the package. But like I said, if you're lifting this by yourself, just make sure that the nose can't slide away from you and slam backwards. But that wasn't too bad. Okay, on to the next step. On our back rail here, we have a square end and an angled end. Angled end goes to the top. We're going to take one of the 80mm bolts. Right down here at the bottom. Washer on this side. And we're just going to lean this guy up. And our upper bolts here will also be the 80mm. And they'll assemble just the same as the bottom did. This is our cross beam we're going to need. It's going to go up on top here. This guy's heavy. What I'm going to do, guys, we're going to use the 90mm bolts in a portion of this to go through. Now, we also have some pulleys and things like that going on here. So what I'm going to do is put some washers on this, get this heavier piece of steel lifted up into place, and just slide these bolts in there without any nuts on the back side of them. That way I can move these out if I need to. till we get everything else in place. Just turn around right. Our angled corners here will be heading back towards me. Just up here. Go ahead and flip this when I start going in the wrong direction there. Now we've got it. And now I can move the bolts around any way I choose to. Make sure it doesn't fall off. But yeah, we're set there. We can move forward with what we're doing now. That should be the last heavy piece we have. And everything on this upper side is the 90mm in length bolts. Flat washer. We've definitely got a hardware store going on, guys. This is where we're starting to get into where this cable is going to run through for our carriage. We are looking for a single pulley. These are pre-assembled in the bag. So we've got a single pulley, spacer, and flat washer on each end of it. It will go in the second hole here. Lift up on this guy a little bit. Okay. Then we'll get our spacer on. Stick the pulley in here. Flat washer. Now, that's pretty much got this side to this point. Now on this side, we will have our pulley, and we also will have our bracket for our scale. Get this guy in here. Our bracket goes on. Spacer. Pulley. Flat washer. Bolt. We're going to have a 35mm length bolt. Alright, and we'll tighten up whenever we need to get everything else in place. We get to put our tank on now, and the bolts was setting in here. Yeah, that looks sharp. We were running out of boxes, guys. I had to get down to the hour meter. They have sent us a pair of gloves, safety glasses, and some earplugs. And our hour meter was in this box. Get to install our dashboard here. These are the 80mm bolts for this guy. And flat washers and nuts on the back side of them. And this pulley will be for part of our carriage lift. Okay. Then our spacer goes on. Pulley goes on, flat washer and nut. The hour meter they have sent does require these small guys right here. They're in a package all by themselves. We're going to go right there with that. Same deal, we'll have a flat washer on that little bitty guy. On the top side. Flat washer and nuts on the back side. Went ahead and tightened this little dude up, guys, because I'd forget about that one. So, hour meter installed. Alright, next up is our lift mechanism. It's going to go underneath here. Right here in this corner we're going to get the 80mm bolt, and then in this upper corner we're going to use our pulleys. And this is 120mm long, I believe, and it will go in this top section. And then they had a 25mm bolt that's already assembled into this, and there's a tab back here that we have to fasten that bolt to. Okay, we're going to go bolt first. Then we'll get our spacer, our two pulleys, flat washer and nut. Alright, we're ready for our lifting cables. Get these guys separated. Okay, the left-hand side of the machine is side B. Let's lay this out there. And this, on the right-hand side, is cable A, and it is attached. We're just going to roll around the top. It goes on the bottom pulley. That one there. Staying on the bottom pulley. And we have a mount back here. Bottom is A and the top one is B. So we're going to this bottom one right here with this eye bolt. Okay. Being really careful to fish this guy up through here without breaking something off of the motor. I'm going to have to take that nut bottom side there. Same way on this side though. We're going to go up over the top pulley, then down into this guy. Make our way on the top side. Fish this guy back through there. Okay. And the mounting hole again is on the top. Put my jam nut on here. Well, I gotta say, that was pretty easy to route this cable. And now we're connected here. Not gonna move it yet until we get everything else installed. Give you a little better look at the pulley system there. Off of this side. And then the mounts are right here underneath. Now we're going to mount our scale so we get to take our first look on the inside of the blade boxes here. We have two mounting holes right here that we have to get. One there and one right here. Boy, look at that. Alright, when we install this, we are going to put the edge towards our indicator dial. It's going to mount right in here. Okay? The spacer does go in behind this. Kind of tight back here with the blade and the wheels in place. We're definitely getting closer to having this thing ready to go. That worked real well setting the speed square in here. Now for our dial, it's in a bag on its own. These guys up here and out of the way. I like the fact that those are magnetic. And there is two different scales here. We'll discuss this when we actually fire the saw up. Figure out what those guys do. This is pretty simple here. Take the flat spot. The indicator is going to mount to. And then it is slotted. This will go on the back side. I am also going to go ahead and tighten up this bracket. Right. At this point I'm going to leave that kind of loose. I don't know exactly how tight I need it. We're going to mount our pushing handle now. I think this is our last major piece. And these do not require a washer. This has actually been a fun build. And it's bolted together well. A couple more pieces, guys. We're almost there. This guy out now. They do have the bolts in here where we need them. We're going right there. Route your cable, throttle cable, around the front post and in between the scale and up to your handle. Now there is two different size bolts here. So I'm taking them out in the position they sent them to me from the factory. second bolt. Goes through the... Oh, we get it tightened up. I think we're going to be there. Now for our throttle cable adjustment, make sure your handle's all the way up. Loosen off this set screw here, pull the slack from the cable, and then just tighten that screw back down. Now we should be ready to lift this up for the first time. I need to get access down to the bottom of the door panels. We're going to see how this works. He's moving right on up through there. That's smooth. This cardboard down out of here. And on both sides we have some small latches that we need to mount down here in order to keep the bottom of the doors closed. All the hardware is in a single bag for it. Little bitty guys too. For our lubrication tank, this is just a snap-in fitting. We're going to use the shortest hose and just push it into this fitting here, and then it goes back to the top brass barb you see back there, and then your longest hose hooks to the brass barb there, and then makes its way down through the retainer clip, and then all the way down to brass valve stuck up there on the blade guide. This little hose stuck up on this side is your level, so when it fills up it'll tell you how much fluid is in here. Nifty. It's ready to go. And last but not least, this is our adjustable guide, and this is the handle for that. So we're going to drop through with a bolt and washer. I'm sure you guys can see that. Right through the handle. And then it's going to thread in. And then once we get it through, we're going to go ahead and back it up with a washer and a nut. Get that guy pulled in there and tight against that jam nut, and that should allow us to move our guide in and out. Alright? A little bit of slack right there. That's pretty smooth too. There we go. Oh, that thing rolls like a dream now. All right, the manual was easy to follow. There was a couple things in there as far as if you purchased the trailer to go along with your mill, a couple of bushings that you'll need to remove. But if you're not purchasing the trailer, when it comes to these bushings inside of these carrier wheels here, you're going to skip over that section and leave the bushings in, okay? Other than that, I was not missing a single part. It looks to me like I have about 4 bolts and 3 nuts and a couple of washers left here. So everything else was just spot on as ordered. And boy, doesn't that look nice. Total build time here by myself. Of course, I'm trying to film for you guys as well, so 5 hours. Set yourself a really nice Saturday afternoon if you have it, and take your time. You're going to get right through this thing. It really was easy to put together. Good hardware, and that's always fun to work with. I hope you enjoyed the video. In the next video or so, We'll get this thing fired up for the first time. That's an important thing to mention. This does not ship with oil, so you need to purchase oil to put in the Kohler Pro. Do not start your motor until you put oil in it. You don't want to have that kind of conversation. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope some of this information helps you. Thanks for watching. We're going to put this to some use this year. It's going to be fun. I still get to move this again out of the barn here.